Hello, my name is Benjamin Hart. I'm an American attorney and the Managing Director of Integrity Legal here in Bangkok, Thailand. As the title of this video suggests, we're discussing the prospect of Thai work permits on retirement visas. For those who are unaware, Thai retirement visas explicitly preclude the ability to work in Thailand. So those on a retirement visa in Thailand, under rules as they currently sit, are not allowed to work in Thailand. There have been some proposals which have come to my attention in a lot of different media sources, and I'm going to go through a lot of these sources here so you can see that it's coming from a lot of different places, and there's a lot of different takes on this, and we're going to kind of do a deep dive into this. But long story short, presently, work permit is not allowed with a retirement visa as of now. Now, that may change, but it remains to be seen. A recent article from Thai Visa, that's thaivisa.com, article is titled, TAT proposes attracting 1 million foreigners, work with no work permit, right to buy land, 10-year stay. Quoting directly, Thai business media has reported one of the biggest shakeups yet to attract foreigners to come and live in Thailand. The proposals, and let's be clear on this, proposals, these are not rules yet, the proposals given by the Tourism Authority of Thailand during a video conference with Thai Premier Prayut Chan-o-cha at Government House yesterday would see 4 target groups be able to work in Thailand without a work permit, pay just 17% tax on local earnings, buy property and land, and stay for up to 10 years. We've done other videos contemporaneously with this one talking about the 10-year visa as well as the ability to buy land. But with respect to work permits, quoting further, the proposals would allow certain well-heeled retirees to actually be able to work legally in Thailand. So quoting further from this, quoting directly, these people will have to invest $250,000 in government bonds or real estate, show a minimum $80,000 in pension income over the last 2 years, or $40,000 per year, and have $100,000 in health insurance. Provided they can show all the required evidence of their long-standing pensions, they will get 10-year visas and can work 20 hours a week with no work permit, pay 17% tax on any local earnings, and buy property on land. So again, this seems to be kind of a modification of the prior retirement, well, it still exists, the OX retirement visa, the 10-year retirement visa. But there's a lot thrown in here. So one thing of note on this, again, it's a proposal. I have some questions in my mind whether or not we'll ultimately see this be promulgated as actual law, be brought in as actual regulation. And for example, this article from the Bangkok Post makes me question whether or not this will actually happen. Quoting directly, or the title, again, BangkokPost.com, title is Measures to Lure Wealthy Foreigners Hit Obstacle. Quoting directly, fresh investment measures including a sweeping plan to allow rich foreigners to enjoy a long stay visa for up to 10 years, own land and property, and pay 17% personal income tax on local earnings are yet to be settled, as the finance ministry is still resisting the thorny tax reduction proposal. So it's just one aspect of this that may not actually result in anything, or may actually drive this not actually going anywhere. Quoting further, or actually from another article, again, thaivisa.com, this article is titled, Working Group to Review Plans to Allow Foreigners in Thailand to buy land and work without work permits. Quoting directly, all of the above groups would be granted a number of benefits from moving to Thailand, including visa validity 10 years, permission to work without a work permit, personal income tax charged on income in Thailand at a flat rate of 17%, and right of ownership / long-term lease of real estate, including land. The proposals were first announced by the Tourism Authority of Thailand last month. Now, again, as we've said, and probably folks that watch this channel a lot probably will think I'm a broken record here, but Tourism Authority of Thailand is not the Ministry of Interior, it's not the Immigration Department, it's not the Ministry of Labor. All of them have to do with work permits and visa regulations. So a simple proposal by TAT is not necessarily going to be great evidence that this is going to change the rules regarding work permits for retirees. To put a finer point on it, there's a good article in the Padia Mail, that's padiamail.com. Article is titled, Plans to Lure the Ultra-Rich with Relaxed Immigration Rules Still Bogged Down. And I couldn't put it better myself. Yeah, definitely bogged down. Quoting directly, the Thai government's ad hoc committee to consider the future of Thai tourism yesterday presented a preliminary report to the Center for Economic Situation Administration. Quoting directly, the general premise is that mass tourism isn't coming back anytime soon, and that Thailand must seek to attract the world's richest business people, investors, and retirees with tax and immigration bonuses. For example, high-end retirees would qualify for a 10-year visa, be allowed to buy property on selected estates, work 20 hours a week without work permit, and pay just 17% tax on local earnings. But the qualifications are steep, and this, again, I think is a key point here. An annual income of at least $40,000 US dollars plus investment capital, e.g. government bonds, to the tune of $250,000. So retirees, presumably that could put in $250,000 US in bonds here in Thailand, may, I stress may, as this is all just proposed, be able to get a work permit on a retirement visa or be work authorized in retiree status. This article goes on to state, critics argue that the recommendations are too complex to draw traction. I think that's a fair point, at least as they kind of exist right now. Quoting further, there already exists a rarely used 10-year X visa aimed at retirees and their families. Moreover, several rival countries are willing to sell citizenship to investors with several $100,000 to spend on a second passport. No chance of Thailand following that route. Yeah, I think that's true. Thailand's not doing second citizenships anytime soon, buying into second citizenship. So what to take away from this overall situation is, one, this 10-year kind of visa, retirement visa, kind of already exists, as we discussed in another video on this channel. And so putting that aside, what about the work authorization? Well, it may be possible. We may ultimately see this. I think this is definitely more likely than the proposed land ownership rule changes, which we've discussed in another video. I think that's relatively unlikely to happen because, as noted, you'd have to see laws in Parliament change the current law, and that's a tall order. Now, that stated, work permits on retirement visas, possible. But as noted, even in these proposals, which are far from becoming actual rules that you can hang your hat on for actually getting documentation, travel documentation, or status documentation here in Thailand with respect to immigration, even these proposals seem to suggest that one would have to put in $250,000 in bonds here in Thailand and have at least an income of, it sounds like, $40,000 at a minimum. Now, it doesn't sound like the income requirement is necessarily outside of most people's ability, but $250,000 just sort of parked in government bonds, I suspect that would be a tall order for the vast majority of people who would want to obtain the right to work on a retirement visa here in the Kingdom of Thailand. Now, whether or not this ultimately comes to fruition remains to be seen, but we will certainly keep you updated on this channel as the situation progresses.